All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today we're unpacking something that literally all of us deal with every single day, yet we kind of just overlook it. Human nature. We tend to see people exactly how they want us to see them. But what if you could read people like an open book? Today we are uncovering 4 secrets that form the absolute core of dark observation. And look, this isn't about having some crazy superpower, it's just about pure human psychology and mastering the art of looking past the obvious.
So picture this. You're sitting in a room right now. You're surrounded by, say, 5 people, maybe a good friend, your boss, and 3 complete strangers. Everyone's laughing, the vibe is entirely normal. But here's the question. Can you spot the liar in that room? Because if you look closely enough, you might notice that one person's smile is completely fake, another is secretly trembling with anxiety on the inside, and a third, they're quietly plotting against you. So how do you actually see all of this without being a literal mind reader?
Well, that brings us to our foundational rule here. The truth is, people wear masks. They navigate the whole world hiding behind these carefully crafted personas. You don't need superhuman abilities to see these masks slip. You just need to realize that while people can, and absolutely do, lie with their words, their bodies, their micro-movements, and their sudden physical reactions, those will always scream the absolute reality. It's simply about knowing exactly where to look.
All right, let's get into secret number 1, profiling by omission.
See, we usually think catching a liar is all about listening super closely to their words, right? But honestly, it's actually about paying aggressive attention to what they leave out. Omission profiling is this really fascinating technique of identifying the specific, dangerous details a person intentionally skips over to avoid getting caught. When the human brain tries to hide something, it's actually quite clever. It fabricates this highly detailed, vivid story to distract you, but it entirely skips over the exact details where the real truth actually lies.
Let's see how this actually plays out in real life. Imagine you ask a buddy, "Hey, where were you and Rohan last night? Your phone is completely off." And they reply, "Man, I was out last night, my car broke down, it started pouring rain, and my phone just died, I was so stressed." Okay, notice what just happened there. They gave you this incredibly vivid story about the rain, the broken car, the dead phone, but they completely omitted the most important part of your actual question. They never even mentioned Rohan. That missing name right there is their biggest secret. So how do we effectively test this in the real world? We use what's called the 2-question test. The key here is you never lead with your suspicions. First, you ask a totally harmless question, something you have absolutely no doubts about. Just casually observe how quickly and easily they respond. That establishes their baseline for honesty. Then, immediately after, hit them with the suspicious question. If you suddenly see hesitation or they start manipulating the narrative and leaving out key subjects, boom, you've caught them.
Moving right along, let's look at secret number 2, the time skip trap.
You see this a lot when someone needs a fake alibi for a serious situation. When someone is in trouble and desperately needs to cover their tracks, they will eagerly give you a timeline of events. But here's the catch. Fake timelines always have structural flaws. Let's say they give you this super eager rundown. Okay, so I went to the first location at 5 p.m., arrived at the second spot at 6, something crazy happened at 7, then 8, and then it was just so chaotic I ran back home at 12 a.m. Look at that gap. They are entirely hoping you're too distracted by the dramatic events to notice that they literally just skipped 3 whole hours.
When this happens, here is exactly what you do. You make strong, unwavering eye contact, lower your voice so it sounds really firm and thick, and you interrupt them with this precise question. Where did 9, 10, and 11 go? Just watch their face. Pure panic will instantly wash over them because you didn't just question their story. You systematically targeted the exact blind spot they thought they had so cleverly hidden.
Okay, that brings us to secret number 3, spotting micro-expressions. Look, people can fake a story. With enough practice, they can even fake a whole persona. But literally no one's brain is powerful enough to maintain a fake emotional mask every single millisecond of the day. The brain slips up, and those slips are your direct window to the absolute truth. A micro-reaction is this involuntary physical expression that flashes across someone's face for less than 1 second. I mean, it's lightning fast. It exposes exactly what they are feeling right before their brain course corrects and slaps that fake mask back on. The average person completely misses these millisecond slips because they aren't truly observing. But once you know what to look for, they become glaringly obvious. So what are the specific physical tells we should be watching for? Let's say you just told a coworker about your recent promotion. They smile brightly and say, "Congratulations!" But for just a fraction of a second, you see the sudden tightening of their jawline, or maybe their eyes narrow just the absolute slightest bit.
That jaw clench, that is the body's natural, hardwired response to anger or stress. They might be smiling and saying all the right words, but that fleeting physical reaction tells you for sure that they are secretly angry or jealous.
And you can actually force these microreactions right to the surface using what we call the shock test. The steps are super simple. Step 1. Right in the middle of a conversation, you drop a sudden, shocking, or deeply personal statement. Something like, "I know what you did that night." Step 2 is the absolutely critical part. Observe the very first millisecond reaction on their face. Step 3, completely ignore whatever they say next. Seriously, whether they nervously laugh it off or get intensely defensive, that secondary verbal response is entirely fabricated. That first split-second flash of pure fear or surprise, that was their honest reality.
Finally, we have secret number 4. Testing the fake nice.
We all know that one person, right? The one who seems just flawlessly kind, universally loved, and is constantly seeking sympathy. But in dark observation, we know that perfection is very often just a disguise. You need to know if they're genuinely a good person or just a wolf in sheep's clothing. To uncover this, you use the belongings test. First, just quietly observe how they treat their own personal items, their phone, their clothes, their bag. If they're highly protective and careful with their own things, you move to step 2. Lend them something of yours for a couple of days. Step 3 is the big reveal. Do they treat your item with that same meticulous respect, or do they show careless disregard? If they maintain their things perfectly, but literally toss your belongings around, their public mask of kindness is completely fake.
The contrast between the two is just staggering. Think about their public mask. The smiles, playing for sympathy, looking absolutely perfect. And then compare that to the reality. Disrespecting other people's property and immediately gossiping in corners the second they think no one is listening. This proves that you should absolutely never judge someone by their public persona. Observing their small, private, seemingly insignificant actions will always shatter a perfectly crafted mask.
So, what does this all mean for us? The biggest takeaway here is that observation is your ultimate tool. By listening for those omitted details, catching those timeline traps, spotting those fleeting microexpressions, and testing that fake kindness, you literally have the ability to read anyone's true intentions. Armed with this dark observation playbook, take a look around your own room today and ask yourself, who are you going to observe differently today? Whose mask are you finally going to see through?